What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live Start Sit with the Fatboyz presented by the Fantasy Holics Podcast Network, live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. Brant, how you feeling this morning?
It's a good day for football. I got up early. I'm sitting here watching the Vikings and Browns game. It's a beautiful day to have football all day. You get that little 30-minute break after this game before the next one starts, and it's just a good day for some football.
It is a good day for football, yes. Even it's a better day if you're a fan of the Broncos, the Falcons, the Packers, the Bears, or the who am I missing here? I don't know. There's another team on a bye.
Falcons, Chicago, Green Bay, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. There you go. You don't have to worry about any of your teams losing this week. That's a good feeling. As a Falcons fan, I pretty much consumes me on Sundays. So I'm definitely interested in having a carefree week of football. So definitely can't beat that, Brant.
Yeah, you just get to sit back and enjoy football. It's like your team played on Thursday. You don't have to worry about anything on Sunday. It's a good feeling. I had that last week with Seattle playing on Thursday night, and then Sunday was just a day of football. I just got to sit around and watch some football all day and not have to sweat my team going nuts. Then my fantasy team actually performed. I think I ended up only losing one of my leagues last week, so it was a good week.
Yeah, and not just on the football side of it though. There is the issue of missing some pretty darn good football players this weekend for your fantasy lineups. So we will help you navigate through that as we get moving this morning. We do have an early question. I don't want to let it sit too long. Dan asks, he says, I hate that I'm even asking this, but Sutton or BTJ?
Let's see. Denver has.
This is Sutton coming off of a very good week, but against the Eagles.
Yeah, they play each other. And then the Jags have
the Chiefs.
Kansas City. Both are about the same points. I think I have to go with Sutton here. I think I'm going to have to lean Sutton on this one. I think the matchup's a little bit better. The secondary isn't as scary in either place, really, Philly or Kansas City. They're both about mid right now. Neither one's catching that mid-season form that we normally see the Chiefs catch with their defense. And Philly also, it's the front line that scares you in Philly. So I think I'm actually going to lean Sutton on this one.
Yeah, it feels an awful lot like Sutton, Brant. I'm just looking it up real quick because I feel like Sutton's been kind of the guy. 9.486 target wise. Currently is the wide receiver 13. Feels like it's kind of hard to sit that. Whereas Brian Thomas is currently wide receiver 44, 7, 12, 6, 7. So the volume's better for Brian, but you are factoring in some games for the Broncos that they didn't really have to do a whole lot. Week 1 against the Chargers was kind of the Titans, was kind of a slow, grinded out, methodical game. The run game's been very good for Denver. But yeah, as of right now, I'm still going with Sutton. BTJ did look a lot better last week, probably his best he's looked of the year. But I'm not sure I'm ready to trust that he's ready to play football again. So I will go Sutton as well, Grant.
Okay. Tony asked, I have Robinson on bye. He already used CMC. Wow, that's a heck of a backfield to have with Bijan and CMC. So I need PPR running back. Michael Carter, Ramondre Stevenson, or Travis Etienne. Where's your thoughts on this one?
I mean, obviously your brain tells you it's got to be Etienne because of how good Etienne's been. He's averaging like 6 yards a carry. But the Jaguars really haven't played a stout run defense yet. They're getting ready to go into kind of a gauntlet of top 12 run defenses, against the Chiefs this week. They got the Seahawks coming up. So it's really going to be a telltale for Etienne, whether he's the real deal or not. But he's on a contract year, 6 yards per carry. I think it's like 5.6 yards per carry, actually. But I don't think you could sit Etienne right now as well as he's been. I think you have to go Etienne. It gives you a Monday night play. Can catch passes out of the backfield. Not great at it. I think he's got like 6 targets all year, but I think right now you probably go with Travis Etienne. That gives you that Monday night miracle, and he's been the best out of the rest of them. I mean, Michael Carter last week was on the practice squad, so I'm probably not going there. And Stevenson's got a fumbling issue. So,
yeah, I'm going to go with ETN here. It is 6 yards per carry, 6.06 by Sleeper. And with Tootin being banged up all week, I know he's good to play on Monday night, but it is how much does he play? He had that shoulder injury that's been lingering all week, so he may not see as many snaps, which means ETN may be in for a couple more, which is good. And then they're going to try to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, so you may see him get a few more carries than normal this week as well. So I think you have to go with ETN on this one.
Okay, yep, we're in agreement. Kevin says, good morning, boys. Start one. Jamar Chase, George Pickens, sit one, Deebo Samuel. And half-point PPR.
Oh, my Lord. I want to say I can't tell you. I cannot honestly tell you to sit Chase, so I'm going to tell you to sit Deebo, I think, out of that. That the Dallas game is going to be back and forth. It's the second highest scoring game this week. So Pickens is probably going to see quite a bit of work there. He will see Sauce, though.
Pickens is my fade this week out of those three. Now, granted, this is a good problem to have because these are three great plays right now. But I'm sitting Pickens out of these three pretty easy for me at this point. Daniels is back. Deebo's like the only healthy wide receiver there. That Deebo's an instant start for me, especially with how creatively they're using him right now. Cliff Kingsbury's getting him involved out of the backfield, end arounds, wide receiver screens. Plus, he's running all over the formation in the wide receiver role. So I'm playing him for sure this week, and I'm not sitting Jamar Chase. Even as bad as it's looked this year, I'm not sitting him.
Yeah, I think I am going to have to sit Pickens with this one too as well, just because he's going to see Sauce and he is the number one target guy there. So he's probably going to get followed everywhere by him. Sauce is probably going to end up pissing him off and George is probably going to have one of those games where he just snaps off and ends up getting kicked out in the first quarter. So I don't hope for that, but I do think Sauce is going to shadow him the entire game. So yeah, I think I have to sit Pickens.
Okay. He did follow it up by saying he had Judkins this morning. That holding call was very upsetting. It's still early. Judkins has still looked really good. I think you're talking about a guy who gets 100 yards rushing. Let's just hope he can find the end zone at some point in this game to make you feel a little bit better. But yes, I agree, Kevin.
Tony says he's got a flex spot, PPR, Flowers, Cup, Franklin, Carter, or Stevenson. Let's see. Cup has been at least seeing some work, but I don't think it's very much. 4-2, 7 in week 2. I think I have to go with Flowers here. I think I'm going to have to start Flowers against Houston. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Flowers.
With no Lamar?
Honestly, it could be an upgrade. You've seen Cooper Rush; he's able to throw the ball. I know Lamar's been doing just fine with throwing it as well.
I was going to say upgrade over the MVP. I don't know about that one.
I think I do still go with Flowers without Lamar. I think he gets the ball in some space and he gets some yak yards.
I was going to say Franklin's really intriguing to me just because Franklin's been a target monster this year. Michael Carter's intriguing just because of the matchup, but I think it's probably Flowers for me. Not necessarily because I think he gets a quarterback upgrade this week, but I think just based on game script and everything else, I think Flowers is probably going to be the most involved out of all these guys.
Well, Cooper Rush isn't going to take 10 carries.
No, he's not. But
so he might throw a few more times.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Brian says Charbonnet or Harvey today, don't love either, but they are my best options in a flex spot. I'm going to go. Grant.
Okay. I'm actually going to go the other. I'm going Charbonnet after watching Seattle really close the way they rotate that back. Charbonnet is going to see the inside the goal, inside the 20 work, it seems like. So if we get inside the 20, he could fall into the end zone once or twice. So I think I'm going to have to go with Charbonnet on this one.
Here's why I'm leaning Harvey, Brant, because if you haven't been paying attention to the Broncos, you may have missed this. I did not pay attention to the Broncos very much, but I've started to dive deeper into some things like this. RJ Harvey had 7 first-half carries last week, Brant, 7. Now, I didn't see a single other carry until the fourth quarter of the game when they were salting it away, but that means they're trusting him to start getting carries when the game matters. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry. Here's the glorious thing for RJ Harvey: 5 targets, 4 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown last week. He's getting involved in the pass catching game as well. I think RJ Harvey takes a big step forward this week, especially in a game when you talk about negative game script. I think the Eagles probably get on the Broncos at some point in this game. J.K. Dobbins is not a pass catching back. That's one thing we know about J.K. Dobbins. R.J. Harvey is, however. R.J. Harvey's going to catch the passes out of the backfield this week in a game that's going to have a negative script. I think you see him go over 50% snap for the first time this year. I like R.J. Harvey a lot this week.
Okay. Tony asked, Debo or Keenan Allen? This is a tough one because Keenan's been getting the targets. And I mean, they play each other today. And then, like you said, Debo's getting moved all over the place. I think I actually lean Debo just because I think there's more work for him that's already been cycled into the offense. It's not, he's going to see some carries. He's the best healthy receiver they probably have. So I think I go with Debo.
Yep, it's Debo for me as well. Keenan Allen kind of, again, at his age, whatever, he's kind of having a crazy season this year. I think at some point Ladd takes over that role or that number 2 in the offense behind QJ. I think QJ is the guy all year. But I think eventually Ladd's going to get his again. I'm going Debo over Keenan on that one.
Okay.
All right. Bob says flex spot in PPR league. He's got Jacoby Myers, Keenan Allen, J.K. Dobbins, or Amari DeMarcado. Brant, how do you feel about that one?
Without Brock Bowers, without Michael Mayer there, I think I go with Jacoby Myers. I actually we'll talk about Myers here in a little bit when we talk about some of our props and TD scores and stuff. So I think I actually go with Jacoby Myers.
Yep, it's definitely Jacoby Myers for me as well. I really like Jacoby this week. As you mentioned, the other target monster's not going to be there in Brock Bowers. Jacoby's been a stud this year with Gino. I think that continues this week.
Paul says, morning, guys. Need a flex play replacement for Chuba Hubbard. He's got Waddle versus Carolina, Marvin Harrison versus Tennessee. I'm not excited about either because I feel Miami's going to ride A-Chain, and McBride might be the better receiving option for Kyler Murray. Maybe I'm overthinking it all. So Marvin Harrison last week showed, why he was such a high pick and why he is the number 1 target. He mossed Witherspoon in the end zone. And he had a good game. I actually think I go with, let me double check who they play today. Help me out here. Why am I missing it? There it goes. Plays Tennessee. So it should be a competitive game. I know the Titans haven't really been able to hang points. But yeah, I think I go with Marvin Harrison Jr. on this one.
Yeah, Marvin's interesting because I think he does possess the skills to be a wide receiver 1 in the National Football League, especially for fantasy. I could see him being a top 12 asset. However, Trey McBride does exist, so that defeats that right off the rip. For me, though, I really like Waddle without Tyreek Hill. I really do. Devon Achane, his body is not built to have 30 touches a game. It's just not how he's going to be. I don't expect that to be something that happens routinely. What I do expect to happen is Tua to throw the ball to Jalen Waddle a lot. So for me, this does come between Waddle or Harrison is a lot closer than I feel like it should be. Because it should be Marvin Harrison, but I am going to go with Waddle just because of the simple fact that I think he's going to get peppered with targets. I really do. I think he's going to have – I could see double-digit targets being a reality for him this week.
He says, have for Sunday, guys, MHJ, Dowdle, or Marks. Pick 2. So I'm going to go with MHJ and Dowdle. I want to see one more week of 50% or more for Woody Marks. I know he looked phenomenal last week. I just want to see one more week of him being the guy. It's slowly been a buildup, and so I think I want to see one more week. So I think I'm going to go with the safer play of Dowell, who there's not Trevor Etienne's the next one behind him, and then you got Marvin Harrison. So I think I'm going to go with those 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, and then Rico Dowdle. Again, Woody Marks is fun. It seems like maybe he's this year's Bucky Irving. He's kind of busting onto the scene, and the snap share is just growing for him. I think that just continues. But like Brant said, I want to see it again. Whereas Rico Dowdle was a 1,000-yard back last year. We know what we're getting out of Rico. We know that Carolina likes to run the ball with no Chuba Hubbard this week. I like Rico Dowdle quite a bit. And then Marvin Harrison, you got to give him his flowers. He came out and had a rough week last week in the first half against the Seahawks, came out and didn't drop a ball in the second half, including that touchdown reception Brant was alluding to just a moment ago. So I think you're playing Marvin Harrison Jr. over Marks at this point, but Dowdle's the must start for me out of those three. Ryan says PPR need one, JMO, Cup, or Shakir. Feels like it's got to be Shakir, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning too. I think that game's going to be the closer one. It's the highest scoring game of the week. Some reason I didn't write down the point spread on it. But yeah, that's it. You know, it's the highest scoring game of the week. I think I go with Shakir.
Yeah, I just want to look up. Targets aren't great for Shakir this year, Brant. He's got 20 total targets through 4 games. So it's not been great. He has found the end zone the last 2 weeks. I think he's the most reliable out of the 3, though. I think, again, you talk about boomer bust plays with JMO. How many of those plays are going to happen today, Brant? How many deep shots is the Lions going to take against the Cincinnati Bengals team? I don't know. I think I go Shakir as well.
Cup also, before we move on, Cup also has 20 targets. Let's just see if all 3 of them have 20 targets on the year. They all 3 have 20 targets on the year exactly.
Okay, there you go.
So that is definitely a tough choice there. I think I go with Shakir. I think it's the safer play.
Yeah, the one thing I will say in the other 2 offenses with the Lions, you've got clear-cut number 1, number 2 options in the offense. Seattle, same thing. You've got a very clear number 1. You move over to Buffalo, they don't have a clear number 1. They kind of spread the ball around. That's, I guess, my favorite thing for Shakir is that you're going to get the ball spread by Josh Allen.
Tony says Drake May, Jared Goff, or Justin Herbert. Which one you don't you play? I want to say Goff just because I don't know how much they're going to have to throw the ball. Like they play Cincy. You could see Montgomery and Gibbs just completely salt this whole game away. So I think I have to sit Goff.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that too, but how involved is Goff before they get the lead? That's the question. Is it going to be Gibbs and Monty, or is it going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and JMO? I think I'm going to go with Brant on this one. I'm going to go with May and Herbert as my guys that I'm playing, just because there is a potential for that game to be nothing but a run fest. In Cincinnati with Detroit coming to town. So I will fall in line with Brant on that one. Skipped one here. Tony says bad week for defenses, Chargers versus Washington with Daniels back, or New England versus Buffalo. Whew, that's tough.
I think I go with the Chargers. I think there's a better chance for some turnovers. There's less I can't really say there's less threat of the running out of the backfield, but I just feel like there's I don't know. I think I have to go with the Chargers on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chargers here too, Brant, just because I think that game. Let me look at it one more time before I put my foot in my mouth here. I think, yeah, that Vegas thinks that game is going to be lower scoring as well. So I will agree with Vegas, and I will go with the Chargers defense on that one. Those of you keeping track at home, real quick before we jump into this one, Carson Wentz's questionable return with a shoulder injury just flashed across from Sleeper there. So those of you who are starting Vikings fantasy players, there you go.
Yeah, he ran into the locker room early. There's about 30 seconds, I think, left of the first half. He did run in the locker room when Cleveland took over this drive. Chris says, "Good morning, guys. Need some help for tight end. My options are not great because of Bowers and Kraft on bye. Also, wide receiver 2 and flex. He's got Darren Waller, Brenton Strange, Marvin Harrison, Wandell Robinson, Jamison Williams, Travis Etienne. Kind of need a high ceiling point as I'm playing against a guy who is already projected this morning to beat me or ahead, who is already projected as this morning 30 points ahead of me." Tight end, I think. Man, I want to say Strange, but Waller actually surprisingly, got a touchdown this past week. And I think I go with Strange on that one, though. I think it's the safer play.
Waller actually had 2 touchdowns last week.
Oh, my goodness.
Only 4 targets, though. Do the targets go up this week with no Tyreek Hill? I mean, I think it's safe to say that they probably do. He was only on the field for 28% of the snaps last week. Probably has to play a little bit more than that this week. So Waller's probably not a bad play. However, Strange has had back-to-back weeks of 7 targets. Kind of been one of the guys for Trevor Lawrence this year. He just hasn't found the end zone this year, Brant. So I think you're okay to go Strange based on the volume. I like the volume. You're not going to see Darren Waller score on 50% of his targets this week like he did last. So,
yeah, I think I go with Strange there. As for wide receiver 2, I think I go with I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison just because we didn't see Jackson Dart throw all that much. So I think I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison. And then I guess my flex play, I'm going with Travis Etienne. Gross. I just told him to start 2 Jags.
I'm in agreement with you on the Darren Wall or the Brenton Strange at tight end. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm in agreement there. And if you're down 30 and you need high ceiling plays, I go Marvin Harrison at your wide receiver 2 and Wandale Robinson at your flex. If I have to have high ceiling play, I'm going to go with the 2 wide receivers that typically wide receivers score a little bit more than running backs do. So high ceiling. Now, if you want high ceiling / safety, then I think Brant hit the nail on the head with Marvin Harrison and ETN. It gives you a little bit of mixture. But if you want full high ceiling, I think it's Wandale and Marvin Harrison. Jamie says, "What's up, fellas?" Jamie, how you doing? He's got Daniels or May, and then Keenan Allen or Flowers. So quarterback question and then wide receiver question, Brant.
I gotta go with Daniels. The scrambling ability. I know he's going to try to slide some more, but I think I go with Daniels there. And then wide receiver. I don't mind Flowers this week, but I think Keenan Allen might be the safer play. So I think I'm going to go with Keenan on this one.
Okay. All right. As far as quarterback goes, I think I agree. I'm going with Jaden Daniels. You get too much rushing upside with him to ignore. Even if they might try to hold him back a little bit from, getting crazy with that this week, I think he still does. So I go Daniels. And then as far as the wide receiver, gosh, I don't want to play Zay Flowers that much with Cooper Rush. I'm going to go Keenan Allen too, Brant. I'm going to go Keenan Allen. Let's go one more week with the old guy. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself because I just said earlier Father Time's going to catch up at some point, but
yeah,
let's go with Daniels and Allen there. All right, so just while we got a real quick second here, we've got a 7-7 score. Browns do look to be adding to that prior to moving into halftime potentially here.
Maybe they almost gave it away with the tipped pass. Murphy was only about a half a toe out of bounds there. That was a great play. It was great tracking by him. He just was about a half a toe out.
So what are your big takeaways from this contest so far, Brant? Anything that sticks out to you?
Gabriel looks, very proficient. I know he's over as he just completely overthrows this guy. In the short routes, he's looked good. He's been hitting his tight ends. I think Fannon's got 4 or 5 catches. Maybe not that many, but I'm pretty sure he's got 4 or 5. Njoku has 2, I think. So, I mean, he's been proficient. Judkins has looked amazing running the ball. I know he's had a few get called back, unfortunately. And then on the Minnesota side, it's what we thought. Mason's not having a very good game against that stout run defense. Carson Wentz, I think, has going into half, he had 70-some passing yards. I don't know if we'll see him come back. As I'm hoping he does. He said 73 passing yards going into half. So, and the Cleveland did just add 3 points. So, I mean, he was taking shots. He was looking for Jefferson. He looked good. So hopefully he gets to come back and we keep this game competitive, because I'm not even sure who the third quarterback is.
Did you have Cam Akers throwing a touchdown in 2025 on your bingo card this year? I sure did not.
I did not. And that was just a great draw up. Like, you put him in the Wildcat. Cleveland didn't even have enough time to just fire for that. And then all of a sudden there he was hitting the second string tight end, because you see Hawkinson. It was just a good draw up there by Minnesota.
One thing I want to bring up, Brant, that I think maybe hasn't gotten enough attention potentially is Isaiah Bond. I think Isaiah Bond needs to start being rostered in fantasy leagues. If you didn't pick him up, this is a guy out of the University of Texas that went undrafted, probably would have been a top 3 round draft pick in the actual NFL had he have not had the legal issues that he had. Isaiah Bond has been slowly coming on for the Cleveland Browns the last 3 weeks, which granted it's gross to want to advocate for a Browns pass catcher. That's not a tight end, I guess, but 65% snap share against the Packers, 55 last week, and then this week. And he's got 4 targets in week 3, 6 last week. He's already at 5 targets this week, Brant, which I believe does lead Browns players in targets. Oh no, he's tied with Harold Fannin in targets. So I think Isaiah Bond is a guy that you almost have to talk about for fantasy claims. This is a guy that I think as the season continues to ramp up, you're going to continue to see how athletic he is, how good of a playmaker he is, and he's going to be a guy that's very involved in this offense moving forward. So if he's unrostered in your leagues, go pick him up and stash him. He's going to be somebody you're playing down the stretch.
Definitely is. If Carson Wentz can't go, as they just trotted him out to take a knee, it's Max Brosmer, undrafted rookie out of Minnesota. So, I mean, maybe we'll see him in the second half. We're going into halftime. He got trotted out to take a knee. So
could be Cam Akers. Yeah, Cam Akers is the one with a touchdown. I mean, we don't know.
That he is.
All right, Brant. So let's talk about this. It's been kind of the hot button issue this year. I do see Jennifer's just joined, and she's got a question here. Jennifer, I know you're got some more for us, so I'll come to you in just a second. Brant, what do you make of the Cardinals' backfield? This has been like the topic of discussion. It was James Conner, clear one. Trey Benson, we thought maybe would eat into that, maybe get to a 50-50 share. James Conner goes out for the season. It's like, oh my gosh, it's Trey Benson's time to shine. A lot of people thought he was the RB1 in last year's draft class ahead of Brooks, who's the double ACL survivor at this point. Trey Benson then goes to the IR. What's your take on this Cardinals backfield?
Well, we've seen Michael Carter be, we've seen them both really be proficient, and when they do get their chances to be the starter. I think DeMarcado got it a year ago. He got a chance to be a starter. Maybe it was 2 years ago. And then Michael Carter did it up for the Jets a couple years ago as well. I think it's going to be a complete committee, maybe hot hand approach, but I don't know if I trust either one right now. I went out and I got Michael Carter just because I thought I like him just a little bit better. So I like just a little bit. Maybe he'll see 52 to 48% snap share like that. That's how much better I do like it. It's not going to be anything I'm rushing to the waivers to pick up. If one more goes down, then maybe I will, but I think it's going to be a complete committee, and it's going to be an ugly thing to watch.
Yeah, I genuinely think I lean more towards the Michael Carter side than the DeMarcado side. I think what you see happen in this offense, Brant, is exactly the game script or the snap percentage share that you saw last week. I think Michael Carter fills that Trey Benson-esque role. DeMarcado is going to be the third down and the 2-minute drill guy. I think that's kind of what his role is in that offense, and I think it's going to stay that way. So I tend to lean, Michael Carter over DeMarcado, but we'll see what this week. I think we'll get a big, a big telling of that this week in this contest because I think the Cardinals should win this game, but Vegas does too. They're favored by more than a touchdown, so we'll see. Mm-hmm. But I think we'll find out this week. If they're in a positive game script, I think you see a lot of Michael Carter. If they're in a negative game script, I think you see a lot of DeMarcado. So we shall see. All right, Jennifer, here we come. She says Etienne or Jameson Williams.
I think the safer play is Etienne. I think JMO, especially with the 10.5-point favorite, and Detroit should put this game away pretty quick. I don't see very much work for the pass catchers this week. I'm not going to bench Amaron, but I am going to temper expectations with the fact that they should be getting up pretty early. So I'm going to go with Etienne as my safer play.
Agreed. It's Etienne. He's the safer play. JMO could. I say this every week, Brant. JMO could be that guy that gets 0, or he could be that guy that gets 30. This doesn't feel like a game script that's going to need a lot of passing volume from the Detroit Lions. So I think at this point, I'm not fading my pass catchers, but fringe guys like JMO that are not necessarily a full-time part of the script, he does probably get faded for me this week. So I will go Etienne on that one.
She comes at us with Henderson, Chubb, or DeMarcado. I think I go with Henderson. I think the game script could actually, favor him this week to catch the balls out of the backfield. I know Stevenson does it too. But yeah, I think I lean Henderson here. I don't. Chubb's losing workout to Woody Marks, and like I said, I want to see another one, but it can definitely be right off the rip. This could be it. Woody Marks could see 60% of the share, and then we just talked about the backfield there with Arizona. I don't know what to trust there, so I think I go with Henderson.
Okay, I agree, Brant. I agree. It's Henderson for me. You hit the nail on the head with the other two. Henderson, it should be a game script for him. I completely agreed. She does follow that one up with Alec Iamore, Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, Troy Franklin. She says pick 2 of those, Brant. I've already got my 2. I read ahead on this one. I know exactly where I'm at. I want to see if you're with me.
I'm going with I think I go with Hollywood, and Tennessee has Arizona. I think I go with Ellick. I think I go with Hollywood and Ellick there.
All right, you're half with me. I'm going Alec Iamore. He's definitely been a guy that's been very, involved. Calvin Ridley is kind of fallen off a cliff this year compared to what we expected him to be. Whereas Alec Iamore has been really refreshing. Definitely somebody who's got that chemistry with Cam Ward already. So I'm definitely in on Iamore. Sorry, I just got an update about Bucky Irving missing several weeks. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then on the other part of this, I actually do go Troy Franklin, Brant. I think Troy's a guy that, really worked on his craft in the offseason. We already know how good his connection is with Bo Nix. This is a game where I expect the Broncos to have to throw the ball. So for me, the Broncos pass catchers do get a tick up this week. I like Troy Franklin over Hollywood. I think the one thing we've seen with the Chiefs offense is that you never know who's going to be the guy, right? Week 1, it was kind of Hollywood. Then you had a Juju week, and then you had a Tyquan Thornton week. Travis Kelce's hanging around. You just never know. So for me, I'm going to fade that, I think, until we get Rashee Rice back, and then we have a clear-cut number 1 in that offense. So I'll go Franklin and Alec Iamore on that one.
Okay. Last one, she asked Tet or Pittman. I think I go with Tet. I think this is going to be a good game, back and forth. So I think I actually go with Tet here.
Yeah, I do too. I go Tet. The thing on Tet that's frustrating is they're not moving him around the formation. I think once Coker comes back, Xavier Legette comes back, I think you could see Tet move around the formation a little bit. Imagine Tet McMillan in the slot, Brant getting some of those Adam Thielen targets. However, Tet and Bryce Young are starting to develop a deep ball connection that I think is very good for fantasy. The targets are there. I know Pittman's been heavily involved, but maybe I'm just a hater, Brant. How long does this Daniel Jones charade keep up? Is this a cult? I mean, is this a real deal? Like, I don't want to believe it's a real deal, but Tet's the first round wide receiver in this year's draft class. Got him a number one overall pick, throwing him the ball. It should work. Again, I think the Panthers probably play from behind in a game that I genuinely think it's not. Vegas doesn't feel it that way, but if I were to bet on the over-under in the Dolphins-Panthers game, I'm smashing the over. So because of my feelings leaning that way, I think I do go with Tet McMillan, Brant.
Okay.
Yusuf comes back and says, I need 2 to flex here. Ertz, Pacheco, Chubb, or Charbonnet.
I think I go Zach Ertz. And then I think I go with Charbonnet having the touchdown upside. Pacheco's been in and out. I don't even think he saw 40% of the snaps last week. I'm double checking that right now, but I think I have to lean Ertz and Charbonnet.
I'm in agreement on the Ertz part.
37%.
37% last week for Pacheco, and a game that honestly he probably should have been involved in a decent little amount, especially when they got ahead. That does scare me off Pacheco a little bit.
Most carries he's seen this year is 10.
This one shouldn't be this difficult, but just based on volume, I want to go Charbonnet. Let me look up Chubb too.
Chubb, I think, saw 44 last week percent.
42% with 13 touches. So he's not complete. Chubb is not completely phased out yet at this point by Woody Marks. I'm going to go Ertz, and I'm going to go Ertz, and I'm going to go Charbonnet. I think I don't have any reason except for it's my gut, Brant.
Okay. Matt asked, Dobbins or Montgomery? My gut tells me Dobbins, but I feel like Montgomery's going to be huge in this game. So I'm going to lean. I'm going to lean Montgomery. I think he'll be extremely involved in this game.
Yeah, it's Montgomery for me. I like David Montgomery a little bit this week. Again, in a game where I think you're going to see a lot of running the ball from the Lions. I think especially late in this contest, if they're trying to salt the game away, I think you probably get more David Montgomery than Gibbs just to keep Gibbs healthy. All right, Mark says Pacheco or Harvey in half-point PPR.
I'm going to go with Harvey here. I think Denver tries to keep the ball. I know Philly hasn't been, that amazing offense that's hanging 50 points a week, but I think they try to keep the ball out of Philly's hands this week. So I think there's a good dose of both Dobbins and Harvey, and then I do see Harvey catching some balls out of the backfield. So I'm going to go with Harvey.
Yep, I agree. It's definitely Harvey for me on this one. Like we kind of talked about earlier in the show, I think, you saw Harvey get 7 carries in the first half of that contest last week against why is it going to elude me now who they just played? I just had it in my head. Anyway, he had 7 targets or 7 rushes in that game last week. was utilized. That means the coaching staff is starting to trust him in situations that matter. He did have 4 receptions on 5 targets. I think this week against the Eagles, this is going to be a contest where they're going to play from behind. They're going to have to throw a little bit. So that does give me a fair amount of confidence that RJ Harvey is going to be involved. So I'm pretty confident in RJ Harvey this week. I'm not saying I'm rushing out to start him over, I'm not starting him over a Gibbs or Derrick Henry or Ginty or somebody like that, but I will start him over an Isaiah Pacheco.
Okay. They played Cincy.
Okay. Darren says, hey, 12-team full PPR, Hollywood or Tolbert in the flex. Unfortunately, too many buys and injuries again this week.
I think I go Tolbert here. I think, like we talked about, Pickens is going to get shadowed by Sauce pretty heavily in a game that's. I mean, they throw the ball. They throw the ball a lot. So I think I go with Tolbert. I think he could be the guy this week for them. I know Ferguson's probably going to get his too, but Pickens is going to be shadowed pretty heavily, so I don't see him getting as many targets. So I think I go with Tolbert here.
All right, Brant, I'll roll with you.
One too.
I'll roll with you on this. You're talking about a guy in Tolbert who the last 2 weeks has seen over 80% of the snap share, 6 targets in both contests. That's enough for me to play him over Hollywood at this point, just because, again, I think that Chiefs offense is so all over the place as far as who's going to be the guy that week, that it does make me confident or more confident in Tolbert with Dak than it does with the Chiefs, just spreading the ball out. So I will roll with you. I'll go Tolbert as well. If Tolbert sees 6 targets again this week, I think you're pretty happy with that, from a fantasy aspect. So I'll go Tolbert.
Jacob asked Dowell, Montgomery, or Sutton. I think I have to go Dowell here. I think Dowdle. I think he's, going to be the guy there. They'll lean on him. And like I said, I think, Denver's going to try to lean on the run a little bit more. I know that's a tough run defense they have to play against in Philly, but I still think that it's going to be tough to, they're not going to want to air it out as much. I know Montgomery should get, a lot of second half work, but I think Dowell, as long as that game stays competitive, I think he could be in line for a top 15 back this week.
Yeah, I think this is a really good problem to have in week 5 for a lot of people. I think a lot of people would be very envious of this one because I do think you see Dowdle and Montgomery have decent little days on the ground. And then you've got Courtland Sutton, who, again, I think the game script favors the pass catchers for the Broncos. So, Brant, I'm not going to take the easy way out. I will give my pick, but I will say this. I think all 3 of these guys I have a fair amount of confidence in this week's scoring for fantasy and having a good contest. I honestly talk about 2 of these 3 guys later in this show. The one I won't talk about later is Sutton. So I'm okay with either of the 2 running backs. I think I lean Montgomery in a game where I think you're going to see a lot of running the ball for Detroit against the Bengals. So I think I will go Monty at this point. All right, Yusuf says off tangent, should I pick up Kendrick Bourne for next week to drop Iamorner? I have Pearsall, assuming he's still out.
I don't do that. I think Iamorner has more season-long value than Kendrick Bourne does. Kendrick Bourne has that old chemistry and old connection with Mac Jones from Mac Jones' rookie year there in New England. So whenever you get Purdy back and Pearsall back and Jennings back, how much of a role does Bourne actually have? But I think Iamorner is really solidifying himself in the offense. So I think I'd lean keeping Iamorner.
Yeah, Alec Iamorner at this point is wide receiver 39 on the season. I mean, you're talking 79, 73, 74, 82% snap shares. Listen to his targets, Brant. I didn't even realize it's been this good. And we own him in a couple of leagues, between the 2 of us. 7, 6, 5, 7 targets respectively. He's just not quite catching that many. He had 2 receptions, 4 receptions, 4 receptions, 2. So if you start seeing this guy come down with better than half of his targets, And actually, in the 2 games where he's caught over half of his targets, he's fallen in the end zone as well. So good things happen when Alec Ayamore catches 50% of his targets. I like him. If you look at his games, stretch of games, they're all very plus matchups for wide receivers. He's got the Arizona Cardinals this week. Next week, he goes to the Vegas Raiders, the New England Patriots, then the Indianapolis Colts. I think those are very favorable matchups for a wide receiver. I'm not dropping him for Kendrick Bourne. I'm just not doing it. I'm keeping Ayamore with the upside. Eventually, Cam Ward's going to figure this thing out, I think. So I think I like Ayamore.
And Tennessee's going to be playing from behind a lot more than San Francisco will. San Francisco will be in competitive games, and CMC is going to be the number 1 guy there. And I think Kittle's eligible to come back next week or the week after.
Sweet.
So everything's coming back for the Niners. So I don't think Kendrick Bourne really has a role. They just started the second half, and Carson Wentz is back out there with the little brace on his shoulder. So Carson Wentz is back out on the field for the Vikings.
Okay. Speaking of braces on the shoulders and whatnot, and I know they are getting ready to start pouring out there. What do you make of this news on Bucky Irving? Are you running out and picking up whether it's Sean Tucker, who's available in your league, or Rachaad White? Are you running out and picking up those guys, Brant, or are you waiting to see a week or two of what it's worth and maybe missing the bag on these guys?
No, I'm definitely going out and picking up Rachaad White. We saw him be the leading back there in Tampa Bay prior to Bucky Irving come. He's going to get, he's had a role there. I know Tucker is a powerful back, but I would run out and I'd go get White. As for Tucker, I don't think I'm going to go flying to the waivers to go pick him up. Rachaad White, I definitely am. I actually just looked it all up in all the leagues, and unfortunately White is owned in every single league that I'm in. But yeah, no, Rachaad White, I would definitely go out and go get.
Okay, so if he's not available in your league, are you pivoting to Sean Tucker or no?
If I'm a Bucky owner, yes, I am. I am going to try to just to make sure I have a piece of that backfield. And then, once again, it's another handcuff situation where, okay, if White goes down, it's all Tucker because what's behind him. So yeah, no, I definitely would pivot if I have a roster spot, but I don't think I'm going to go rush out there to just hold on to him because he probably would be my drop next week.
Okay, I think it'll be interesting because the one thing we know about Rachaad White is he's extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Volume dependent, I guess. He's not very effective with his touches. He's got to get a lot to produce usually. So for me, I definitely think Sean Tucker's worth a roster spot just because he's going to get some run. He's going to get some touches. And I think if he starts being explosive, he could potentially, take over that spot from Rachaad White, because I don't think we've seen anything from Rachaad White that's super explosive. So for me, I'm interested in picking up Sean Tucker and potentially rostering him for it, especially if I'm one of these teams that's got a lot of guys that have made their way to the IR and I've got some roster space.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler says full PPR, pick one, Dowell or DeMarcado. I go Dowdle, Rico Dowdle here. We talked about it just a little while ago. That Arizona backfield is disgusting. We really have no idea how it's going to shake out, but we do know that Rico is going to be the number 1 guy there for at least this week.
I agree. It's Rico Dowdle for me. You're probably talking 65 to 70% of the snap share for him in a game where he should be able to stay on the field and not get in must-pass situations for the Panthers. I think you should see a healthy dose of Rico Dowdle today. All right, Brant, one of the other things we wanted to talk about pre-show that we said we would if we had some small time. If you are stuck in either let's say redraft more than dynasty, because I think in dynasty, obviously, you got to look at next year's picture a little bit too. But in redraft, if you own one of the big 3 from the Cincinnati Bengals, whether it be Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, or Chase Brown, are you considering moving those guys at this point? And if so, what kind of offers would it take for you to potentially move him?
In redrafts, I'm definitely starting to kind of hit the panic button on that. That offense looks and honestly, I'm going to wait for today. Because this is a good chance for them to really ball out offensively against Detroit. I know Detroit has very good defense, but being down 10.5 points, still with a 49.5 point spread, it's a chance for Cincinnati to get some rhythm going, even if they're playing from behind. So I'm going to wait just this week. If they don't get it going, I'm smashing the panic button on them. For all of them, I'm going to try to get me. Higgins is probably a starter piece, a flex play. But as for Jamar Chase, I'm going to be trying to go out there and get me two players that definitely can be played in my lineup week in and week out. They're not going to be superstars, but I have to figure out, okay, I drafted this guy to score me 20 points a week. How do I get him? How can I trade him to get me two guys that can get me 20 points a week? I know, it kind of sucks, but
well, let me ask you, because these are some real life trades that have happened recently that I've gotten written down here. Would you trade Jamar Chase for, now granted he is hurt this week, but this is a trade that just went down, Quentin Johnston and Chuba Hubbard? Would you trade Jamar Chase for that in a redraft rest of season?
In a redraft, I probably would. I think Quentin Johnston is definitely coming on and doing good things. So I definitely think I would very well consider taking that trade. Now the issue with me taking it this week would be, once again, I want to see if Rico comes out and balls out this week and has 150 yards on 20 touches and 3 touchdowns. That's going to be almost a 50-50 split, because you're not just going to take that guy out. So I definitely another reason to wait for this week and see how Rico takes over that number 1 spot.
How about Cortland Sutton straight up for T. Higgins? Would you take that if you're the T. Higgins owner?
Yeah, I do. I think I would. I think there's more opportunity for Denver to air the ball out in the division that they're in, with the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Raiders, against Cincinnati happen to play high-powered defenses such as Baltimore whenever it starts clicking. If it starts clicking this year, right now they don't look like the defense of old. But then you got Cleveland and also Pittsburgh there. So yeah, I think I would probably take that trade.
And the last one, how about which side would you rather be on this, Chase Brown or Derrick Henry?
I'm taking Derrick Henry.
Okay. Now, granted, Derrick Henry's not had a Derrick Henry year this year. It's probably coming, but it hasn't happened at this point. So
he could fumble every game, and I'd still probably be comfortable with him.
That's a real life trade that went down this morning, just so we all know. And in case you're a nerd for fantasy like me and Bran are, you can go to dynastydaddy.com. It's a very interactive site. We're not sponsored by them, but you can get on there, and they have a trade database where it pulls like all the real life trades that have happened on all the fantasy platforms. Somehow they have the ability to do that, and you can see what the real prices of players are. It's kind of interesting to go look at once in a while, when you're thinking about making a move for somebody.
Mark asks, better pickup, half-point PPR, Corum, Tootin, or Kokert? He has Kyron Williams. Let me pull something up here. I don't really need to. I just need to go to my team. I think the better pickup is going to be Corum here. Take your handcuff. Something happens, you've got a guaranteed backup. So I think I go with Corum.
Corum's the one that if you want to just roster your handcuff just in case something happens to Kyron, then you're safe there. But I think if you're talking about in a vacuum, which one's going to give you the more upside for playing ability, I think Coker's a guy that could see time in your lineup if Kyron stays healthy. Coker comes back, gets back in that flex and that Carolina offense. I think he's got some real value when he comes back from the IR. So if you take away the fact that you have Kyron Williams, which I know you can't do because you do have him, but if you take that away and you're looking at somebody you're going to plug and play in your lineup, I think Coker has the best chance to actually be in your lineup, to actually play, to actually produce for you on a fantasy level week in and week out when he comes back from the IR. So I go Coker on that one, Brad.
Okay.
All right. While we got a little bit of downtime here, let's get into our underdog plays of the week, Brant. Let's see what's shaking with those, and then we'll get back into questions as they start rolling. You ready?
Absolutely.
All right, Brant, let's go ahead and walk through our underdog lineups of the week. As usual, I'll let you go first on this one, and then I'll get into mine.
Okay, I'm going to go with I know I've been saying, both backs have value this week, but I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins to go higher than 51.5 rushing yards. I think they try to keep the ball out of Philly's hands a little bit. So I think that, he's going to see a lot of touches, a lot of play. I know it's a tough defense, but with him, it does take, one chance of getting past that line where he ends up breaking off a 30, 40-yard run, and then you're just waiting for 11 more yards. So I'm going to take him higher than 51.5 rush yards. I don't normally do this. I don't take very many Seattle players, but I had to this week. I'm taking Jason Myers to go over 1.5 field goals made this week. Seattle has a tendency to get down there, and if they don't, they're not in a rush, or it doesn't seem like they punch it in. So I'm going to take Myers to go over that with a good defense there in Tampa Bay. I think they'll be able to move the ball down the field, but I think they'll struggle a little bit to put it into the end zone. And then I'm going to go with Breece Hall to go higher than 26.5 receiving yards. He gets Justin Fields back. No Braylon Allen knocking on the door. I think that he's going to see some good catches out of the backfield, and we've seen Breece Hall break some of those. So I'm going to take him to go higher than 26.5 receiving yards. And then I'm going to go with 2 Giants players. I got Jackson Dart higher than 13.5 longest rush today. I think he gets out. I think he breaks one out for 20 plus. So I'm going to take Dart to go higher than his longest rush being 13.5 yards. And then they're playing the New Orleans Saints. So I think that they're going to have a chance to salt this game away a little bit. So I'm taking Scatabo to go higher than 17.5 rush attempts. I see them feeding him the ball and letting him do a little bit of work this week.
Okay. All right. On the Giants train is Brant. All right. For me, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs going higher than 105.5 total yards. I think this is just a game script that favors the backfield a lot in Detroit. We talked about David Montgomery a lot. I think Jahmyr Gibbs eats as well. I've got Dak Prescott higher than 243.5 passing yards this week. I think this is a contest that's going to be a better game than it should be because the Cowboys defense stops nobody from scoring the ball. It's almost as if they need like a Micah Parsons level player back there on defense. If only that was an option they had available to them. I also took a line with Jackson Dart involved, Brant. I've got him higher than 216.5 total yards. I think when you see what he did last week with 10 rushing attempts, I know he only threw for 110 yards, but it only takes 70 yards rushing on the ground for him again this week to easily go over this in my mind. I've got Jalen Waddle higher than 7.5 targets. I think he's going to be the guy that gets just peppered with targets on the outside without Tyreek Hill rest of season. I really like him. And then I actually went with Seattle as well. Really one of the first times I watched Seattle or get to watch your Seahawks play in depth was this Thursday night 2 weeks ago. I liked what I saw out of Elijah Arroyo, the rookie tight end there for you guys. I have him going higher than 17.5 receiving yards this week, Brant. He was targeted a lot more than I expected to see him targeted in that Thursday night contest, and I think that kind of just takes right off. This is a 3 or 4 reception game. For him, he easily gets that. So I like Elijah Arroyo this week for your Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, he's slowly moved up our depth chart. I've been, obviously I've watched all the Seattle games, so I've definitely been, infatuated with watching him move up and seeing the ball more. So he's a guy that he's fast, he's quick, one catch, and he's over 17.5 yards. So I definitely like that play.
Okay, all right. While we're on it, why don't we go ahead and talk about touchdown scores?
Okay. I'm going to go with 2 quarterbacks this week. I got Jackson Dart to find the end zone, and I got Josh Allen to find the end zone. And then I'm going to feed off of one of your plays, and I got Jahmyr Gibbs to find the end zone. And then I went a little risky. I don't think it's too risky, but I got Jacoby Myers to find the end zone this week.
I mean, you're talking about 2 quarterbacks finding the end zone. I'm not sure it gets more risky than that. If that hits, that's got to be, what is that, like plus 1,600 or something?
I'm going to find out.
Okay, all right. I did not go that risky on mine, Brant. I have Rico Dowdle to find the end zone. Again, I think you're talking about a very healthy workload for him in that contest this week against the Dolphins for the Panthers. I've also got Jahmyr Gibbs to find the end zone this week again. I think this is just a game that favors the running backs. I don't know why I won't put this one down. I was just staring for a fourth one for a long time, Brant. I could not get anywhere else. Got Derrick Henry finding the end zone. It's been a minute. He's got to get back on track, especially no Lamar Jackson this week. I think he gets is the focal point of that offense. So I think he's involved heavily. And then I guess if you want to call one risky, I don't think it's risky at all. I did take Trey McBride to find the end zone. So my non-running back is Trey McBride. So there you go. Hey, and just so you know, Brant, your Judkins does have his first reception of the game on this drive. So
yeah, first reception, and Njoku's hurdling people. That's a big boy getting up there.
Channeling his inner Saquon Barkley. All right. Ryan says, in PPR, do you take Stephon Diggs or Khalil Shakir?
Revenge. Diggs. I'm going with Diggs this week. I'm going with the revenge game of Diggs. I think he sees a very healthy dose. So I like Diggs this week.
Yeah, I did text you last week and ask if Drake May finally realized he had a number one wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, who had 6 receptions on 7 targets, 101 yards receiving last week. Diggs has still not found the end zone yet this year. I think that happens this week. I think Diggs has a huge game. I also like Diggs over Shakir in this one.
Charlie asks, 2 QB league. Pick 2, Baker, Indiana Jones, or Jaden Daniels? Unfortunately, I have to say Baker against us, and I'm going with Daniels. We seem to give up a lot of yards, but we hunker down inside the red zone. But between the 20s, we give up quite a bit of yards, so I'm going to go with Baker and Daniels here. I also think that you could see Jonathan Taylor just completely run over the Raiders all day and not even have to make Indiana Jones throw the ball at all.
Daniel Jones did kind of have a little comeback to earth game last week with the 2 interceptions and only 1 touchdown against the Rams. Baker was banged up this week. He's missing Mike Evans, which granted he's got Emeka Ibuka at this point. He's got Godwin back, so probably not that big of a deal, but he is dealing with a knee and an arm injury. He is playing today, obviously, so I guess I go Baker. And I don't know how at this point, I don't know how you could justify sitting Jaden Daniels. So I think, especially watching how decent Marcus Mariota looked for the Commanders, which is gross. That just tells you how good the offensive game plan is. Granted, I know he's missing pass catchers, but I think that rushing upside's enough for me to keep him in. So I will go Baker and Daniels, just like you did, Brant.
Okay. All right.
Let's we got back on the snide doing this week. Let's talk about this a little bit. We both got in and did a DFS lineup. We hadn't done that for a few weeks. Brant, walk me through your DFS lineup and kind of how you came to each decision here.
Give me one moment. Let me get it pulled up. All right. So at quarterback, I went Justin Fields. I'm also going to stack him with Garrett Wilson. I think, they fight each other. I think, it's a high scoring game. It's rushing out of the pocket. So I like that. And then, finding Garrett Wilson, you could see him with 10 plus targets. So I do have that. I did run it back with Pickens. I'm not extremely thrilled about this one. I like to bring it back on the other side. I may actually have to get back in before kickoff and switch it to Tolbert or someone else. I'm not 100% sold on Pickens, with probably getting shadowed pretty heavily by Sauce. And then I have, hang on, before I go in, is officially inactive. Brock Bowers is officially out. I know he was trying to give it a go. And then I have Cam Scatterbo at my running back spot. I think he sees a lot of touches. I think he sees a lot of work. And then I went a little bit cheaper with my second running back. I went with Woody Marks against Baltimore. Baltimore's been susceptible to the run and a lot of pass catching backs. So I think Marks could be in for a big game. I just don't know how much I trust him. My third wide receiver, I went with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I went with an expensive one. I think that he'll see enough targets in the beginning of the game. And then I went with Dalton Schultz. I went cheap, but still seeing targets at my tight end with Dalton Schultz. And then I went with the Arizona Cardinals as my defense. And my flex, I think, is going to be a guy that gets back on track today. I think they try to force feed him the ball a little bit. I know he's going to see one of the best, if not the best corner in the league. But I think A.J. Brown has a decent little game today against the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to go with A.J. Brown in my flex.
Okay. Real quick, we did just see a second touchdown pass for Dallin Gabriel in his start. He's got both of his tight ends have officially caught a touchdown at this point, with David Njoku being the second recipient. For me, Brant, in my DFS lineup, I also have a quarterback wide receiver stack, which I think is obviously something you have to do in DFS plays. I went with Justin Herbert for $8,000, and I also obviously stacked Quentin Johnston with him for $7,500. I just feel like this is a very winnable game. I think this could be a high-scoring contest with the Commanders, there. So I went with that. For my running backs, I went kind of cheap on both my running backs, but I think both of them have decent upside. At running back one, I took David Montgomery, $6,300. Again, I think this game, I can't reiterate him as many times as I have, that the Lions should run all over the Cincinnati Bengals this week. So I really like that one. And then at the other running back spot, I went as cheap could go, $4,000 on Michael Carter. Again, if Michael Carter gets anything for $4,000, that's a great production out of that running back spot. My wide receiver 2 spot, I did go Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, the upside at $6,600 is just insane. The amount of production he could potentially get there. I'd go expensive at my last wide receiver spot in a contest that I think these guys will play from behind, just like they have every other week. I've got Jamar Chase for $9,000, just because it's Jamar Chase. You never know, right? Tight end one, or my tight end spot, I did go with Dalton Kincaid. Had a touchdown reception last week. Sunday night contest that's supposed to be pretty high scoring there. At flex, I did go Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then, like you at the defense, I did go with the Cardinals. I feel like that's the best matchup this week on the defensive end. So there you go. There's our DFS plays this week if you're partaking in DFS lineups.
Yeah. So Matt comes at us with one more question. It's Godwin, Sutton, or Brian Thomas. Pick 2. I go with Godwin and Sutton. I don't know how much I trust BTJ right now. I think Godwin's going to see plenty of work. I do believe Witherspoon has been ruled out. I will double check that as you go through yours, but I think I like Sutton this week. And I think, like I said, I believe, Witherspoon has been ruled out. So our best corner's out. So I like Godwin this week as well.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go Sutton. I think Sutton's a must start this week. Just game script is going to have the Broncos trailing, I think, in this contest against the Eagles. Should have to throw a little bit, which makes me kind of excited for Courtland Sutton this week. I have the other one being on this one, if I'm going to go with one. And if you would, Brand, if you'd start looking up inactives while I'm answering the second half, so we can start going over those. I think I'm going to go Brian Thomas. Actually, the Seattle Seahawks defense has been actually surprising to a lot of folks. Obviously maybe not as much to Brant, but for a lot of us, I thought the Seahawks defense was going to be kind of a lame duck, if you will. They've been anything but. They get after the passer a little bit. They're opportunistic, I'll say, in the secondary. And the one good thing about Witherspoon is he's not going to follow Godwin into the slot. I don't expect anyway. So this will be some nickel matchup, I would assume, for Godwin. But I think this, like I said, the secondary for Seattle has been better than a lot of people expected. So I'll go Brian Thomas, who, like I said, did come off of his best week last week. I think maybe you're starting to get him, seeing himself get a little bit more confident again. So I will go with Brian Thomas. I think we're both in agreement. Courtland Sutton's a must start there.
Okay. So with Miami Carolina game, I got some inactives here. Miami is no big names there on that inactive list. The Panthers are missing Sanders, so Trimble is a pivot play if you need a deep dive at tight end. Chua Hubbard's obviously out. Raiders and Indy, I don't have any update yet. Cowboys, Jets, no update. Giants and Saints. Tracy's out, which we already knew. Devin Neal has been ruled out on the other side. Nothing big there. Houston and Baltimore. We've already know those, Lamar, and nothing really over there. I'm still looking at TBAs. Bucky Irving's out. I'm not getting a whole lot coming across yet.
Juwan Johnson's active for the Saints. He's been a top 10
good.
tight end this year. Got to play him. Dallas Goedert is ruled in as well. Taysom Hill also expected to play for the New Orleans Saints. So maybe we see some gimmicky plays there. Marvin Mims is in for the Denver Broncos. Foster Moreau is playing. And one of them that I'm more excited about than a lot of people, I think, is Jaden Blue for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm definitely excited to see, another high sought after rookie running back. He's expected to get some game time this week with Miles Sanders out. So definitely interested to see how that one goes.
Yeah, that Taysom Hill you brought up, that's a guy that if he's on your waivers because he was on the IR, it's a guy that's always worth stashing because they've been struggling at the quarterback situation there in New Orleans. So he may see some gadgets back there. I know it's not, the Sean Payton gadgety play, but this guy has a tight end designation with the ability of taking some of the work off of Kamara in the backfield, catching some balls from the tight end spot, throwing some balls from from the quarterback spot. Taysom Hill is a guy that if he's on your waivers, I'm running out and trying to stash him right now. I kept him on the IR in one league, and I think I went out and I grabbed him in two more that he was out there. So he's always a guy that you can drop if it's not happening, but he's also a guy that could end up scoring 30 points and 2 touchdowns, in a tight end spot.
All right. Let's see what's going on in the London game. Anything new, Brent?
I think it's still 17 to 14. Not 100% sure what just went off. I was looking up all those inactives. Next thing I know, I look up, it's back on commercial. It's been a kind of fun game to watch over there. It's been, good defensive battle at the start of it. And then we started seeing the offenses and we saw some trickery. It's been a pretty entertaining game. I don't think it's going to be, I didn't think it was going to be, a high flashy 27-28 game. I did think there was going to be some defensive battles between these two. So it's been exactly what I expected there. But it's been, it's been entertaining to watch on and off. So it's been a pretty good game. And that's kind of gross to say about the, Cleveland Browns. Minnesota always seems to hang in every single year, even regardless of who their quarterback is.
Is Dylan Gabriel the starter rest of season in Cleveland, you think, Brant?
I do. I know they said that they were going to give Sanders a chance, but he's been very he's been very good sitting back there. I'm not even going to try to get it. I can't get the word out right now. He's been very good sitting back there. I think Sanders is, maybe they'll let him play, but I mean, he was inactive today. So I do. I think that he could be, the guy leading going forward with the Cleveland Browns. I think it gives them the best chance to win right now. And that division is so banged up right now with, Aaron Rodgers being the only starting quarterback that's starting, because then you look, you got Browning starting with Cincy, who's 2-2. And then you got Cleveland, who's 1-3. And I think it's Baltimore's 2-2 as well. So, I mean, the division isn't out of reach for them. Do I think they could win it? Probably not. But it's not out of reach, so they shouldn't be waving the white flag right now. And I think he's going to be the best guy to give them a chance to win right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it's probably Dylan Gabriel. I think we as a fantasy community want to see Sanders. I think everybody kind of it's just one of those curiosity killed the cat situations, right? I think there's going to be, if Dylan Gabriel stumbles at all, I think there'll be enough demand from the fan base to see Sanders. I do think I want to say I wasn't a huge fan of the Shadur interview where he goes up there and talks without making sound after Gabriel was named the starter. I thought that was kind of immature, but Sanders is a young kid, so he's got a lot to learn. But I'd like to see one of these rookie quarterbacks be successful. It'd be fun to see the Browns be good. I think we could all kind of be behind that. I mean, that's been one of those fan bases that, since I've been around to watch football, has just kind of just shown up every single week. The dog pound's always lit, and they never have anything to show for it. So, I think it'd be definitely interesting to see them guys get a decent quarterback to root for and be relevant. So I'll from the sidelines kind of casually root for Dylan Gabriel to be successful, I think.
The dog pound, like you said, they stretch all the way out over here. That they've been loud over there in London, and that's you're a soccer guy or football. So that Tottenham Stadium's pretty big, and they've been pretty loud in there, for first downs and as Cleveland's moved the ball. And Gabriel's shown that I flow overseas and I'm doing my thing here. Let me get back home and get my feet back underneath me after a long flight home. I think Gabriel's got a good chance to make this team successful or competitive. And they got themselves an amazing running back, which they've had for years with Nick Chubb prior to that gruesome injury. So like they're starting to get back into what they were. Let's run the ball, and I got a quarterback that can run this system. And then right now he's looking very good. And like I said, it's always week one of a rookie is always hard to judge just because there isn't a whole lot of professional tape out on them. I know there's a lot of college tape, but college is so fluky and timing routes. And you may have, 3 or 4 great receivers around you. And then in the NFL, it's just, you got guys from everywhere. So when you don't have that film, it is kind of fluky. So next week will be interesting for them. They might be on bye since they are coming back from overseas, but the next start for him will be an interesting one to watch.
Okay. All right, Brent, let's get on to the most important part of our weekly show. What is on the menu in Fatboy Brant's house this week?
So this week I asked the kids, I said, hey, what do y'all want? What do you guys want? And we went out and I got what I wanted for breakfast. I got biscuits and gravy in here. I don't know if you saw me turn my back to the screen a little while ago. My dog was in there sniffing at the counter. So I had to go, say a few choice words because my dog's trying to go after my biscuits. But we got some biscuits and gravy in the morning that I'm going to smash after we get off of here. And then we're doing some crunch wraps tonight. I think I'm going to do, I think we have some mozzarella sticks and some pizza rolls and stuff for in between all that. We'll have a little appetizers laying around. But yeah, the kids wanted crunch wraps. So we're going to fire those up tonight. It's been a while since we've done them. So we're going to do some crunch wraps tonight. It's just, and then Fatboy might have to go out and get himself some brownies or something. I'm going to need some type of snack tonight. My wife was complaining that she wanted brownies. So I might be a sweet husband when she leaves me. Maybe I'll make some at home.
All right, there you go. For me and my household, we are torn between two things. I know what I want. I don't know if I'm going to get my way, as it's not currently sitting in the crock pot. It probably means I'm not. We were down to potato soup or crunch wraps for us as well. Crunch wraps are not something that happens sparingly at our house. Once I got the Blackstone, it was a once a week kind of a thing. My wife is crazy about her crunch wraps. So
that's how it was here when we first got it too.
Yeah, so I think I've lost out. I wanted potato soup, but it's still a little warm for potato soup. But I'm sitting in the air conditioning. It's 68 degrees in my house. It's perfect temperature for potato soup. So I'm going to hold out hopes that I get that still for lunch. On the lunch menu, we've got some Bavarian pretzels. My kids have been really digging Dad's beer cheese sauce lately. So we've got some Bavarian pretzels, some beer cheese sauce. I think my wife said she was going to make some hot ham and cheese sandwiches for the kids for lunches. I don't know. I might just do some chips and dip for lunch for me with some Bavarian pretzels and beer cheese and save out that appetite. Maybe I can get the puppy dog eyes rolling for the wife and see if maybe she'll make some potato soup, but I think I've lost out on that one. But that will be next Sunday if I don't get it this week.
I'm in the same boat as you, man. I've been begging for chili, and we just haven't had it because it has been so still warm up here. So I think I'm going to have to get my way, whether I got to make my own dang chili or not, but I think we're going to get it next week.
Yeah. Next week we'll be on here. Both of us be on here talking about some soups to have. So I'm interested. What are you guys all snacking on out there this week? Jennifer did get on here and say it's never too hot for potato soup. We eat inside. I agree. There's bugs outside. I'm not sharing my food with bugs. I'm not trying to sweat while I eat. If I'm sweating because I'm eating, it's because it's something hot. I don't want to be sweating because it's hot outside. I want my food to be spicy, some spicy wings or spicy chili, something like that to get me sweating. I don't want to be moist eating because I'm outside. So yes, it's definitely not too hot for some soup. So what are you guys snacking on out there this week?
I will say Pops woke me up with had a picture. He's got a rack of ribs sitting out there on his Seahawks smoker. So Pops, my dad's over there. I might have to sneak over there before 3, but
we just go over there. You should go over there and get those while you're out to get brownies.
There you go. Just hang out and watch the game.
There you go. Yeah, don't come home. Yeah.
Let's see. So
go ahead.
I was going to say, so with a little bit of downtime, we want to talk. I brought up talking about possibly streaming some defenses next week and getting ahead of the game here. So if you're a player at fantasy like me and you like to stream your defenses and you keep an open roster spot, right now I have 2, maybe even 3 defenses on some of my rosters just because I've been trying to plan ahead. So if you're planning ahead next week, I think some of the defenses is the Patriots, who plays the Saints. So that's, easy to go with. Pick on the Saints. And then the Packers, who are on bye, they get Cincinnati next week. And we saw that defense get kind of rocked a couple weeks ago. So I think they'll get back on track. And then a risky one I had was the Chargers for next week. They're a little risky, but they play the Dolphins, and with the way that Tua throws the ball, they could end up with a couple turnovers. So I think those are 3 defenses that I don't mind, going out and trying to grab a little early if you're a defensive streamer.
Yeah, again, it's never too early to look at next week, right? Packers defense, somebody probably dropped them this week because they're on bye for next week. And they just got torched by the Cowboys. Definitely not a bad idea to go scoop those up. It's never too early to look ahead and try to get yourself an advantage for next week, right? It's all about what I can do to get a leg up on who I'm playing. If you've got an extra roster spot out there this week and you can go afford to pick up one of those defenses for next week, I think you're just setting yourself up ahead.
Absolutely. So we're in the fourth quarter, 17-10. They just punted the ball back to, or 17-14. They just punted the ball back to Minnesota there.
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Brent. We did this last week and we both got smoked on this. Who is your running back 1 for this week? Who do you think is the guy?
Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm cheating. He's got an easy matchup. I think he runs all over Cincinnati. I'm going with Gibbs.
All right. You took the one I was going to steal if you were crazy enough to let me have it, but you obviously weren't. So I'll go sneaky. I'm going to go Rico Dowdle in a contest where I expect him to get plenty of work. I'm going to say Dowdle finds the end zone a couple of times. Let's see if I get that right. How about wide receiver? Who are you taking there?
Wide receiver. Let's go with Stephon Diggs in a revenge game to find the end zone and try to keep that game close. Let's go with Diggs.
Wow, that's a good one. I like that one from you. I'm going to go with
Fumble Rooski out here.
I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. And tight end, Brant, you cannot pick Trey McBride. Give me your tight end 1 on the week.
Let's go with Jawan. What is it? Jawan Johnson. I know he's banged up, but let's go with Johnson.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with Zach Ertz this week, Brant. Zach Ertz, old man Zach, with nobody else healthy on that roster besides Jalen Lane and Tebow Samuel. Give me Zach Ertz to have a big game this week.
Okay. All right. I don't hate it. I kind of like that one there. I do think that he's going to see plenty. Him and Daniels have a good connection. So that's definitely a good call there.
Yep. All right, guys. I say this each and every week. If you aren't already following the Fantasy Holics, which I'm guessing you are if you're here this week, whether you're on X, hit that follow button, Facebook, hit that follow button, follow the Fantasy Holics, YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. That way you don't miss us each and every week when we come at you live. Brant and I didn't do our live this week, or our weekly podcast this week. We had some scheduling conflicts. We should be back this week with that. But we will be back again next Sunday with you guys live, so you don't want to miss us. Jump on there. And also, I said it on last week's page, I am a little bit biased, but that doesn't make what I'm going to say less true. The Fantasy Holics page is the best for interactions with updates. We don't miss anybody. If you send a message, if you comment, we're on there. They're receptive. The guys behind the screen are top tier. The Fantasy Holics website, fantasyholics.com, is one of the best in the game as well. So make sure you're interacting. Check those sites out. Make sure you're following. Make sure you're a part of it. These guys are very, very quick with their information. So make sure you're on all of those sites so you don't miss any information. And then last and not least, if you're wanting to get a start sit question asked after this contest, maybe your eyes are glued to the Browns and Vikings game, as my co-host's eyes have been every time he's not talking. If you're so in tune with that game overseas that you forgot to get your question asked with us, there will be a live start sit Facebook post over on the Facebook page where you can just drop a comment and they'll answer you back with their thought and their reason. And the good news about the Fantasy Holics is we'll put our tag handle on there, so you know who's giving you the advice and you know who to be mad at next week if you don't like who it is, right? So we're definitely taking ownership for who we suggest. So if you miss us and you want to get your question asked, don't hesitate to go to the Facebook page and jump on there.
And then absolutely, if you guys want to hear some stuff on our weekly casts on our Wednesdays, jump over there to the Fatboyz Facebook page as well. Hit us with a message on the Fantasy Holics page. We're always open to suggestions of what you want to hear us cover or talk about. Sometimes trades. Trades. Sometimes we struggle trades, lineup DFS, maybe Thursday night underdog plays. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. Sometimes we struggle to find, exactly what to talk about on Wednesdays with waivers already clearing and everything else. So definitely hit us up on our Facebook page, on the Fatboyz Facebook page, or on the Fantasy Holics Facebook page. We're always looking to interact and definitely want to, be more involved with you guys and help you guys out with any way we can.
Absolutely, guys. We strive to be the best in the business. That takes you guys being here each and every week. So again, we appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with Brant and I for our 90 minutes. We're on here. Wednesday night, there's a good group of you that come and consistently hang out there too. So Brant and I definitely appreciate that. This page doesn't exist. Brant and I don't exist without you guys. So thank you to you guys as well. So definitely tune in each and every week. Help us out. We definitely enjoy getting on here Sunday mornings and hanging out with you guys.
Absolutely. We definitely do. Thank you guys for joining. As you guys may have seen, the next week, London or overseas games, I'm not 100% sure where it is. It'll be a nice defensive battle, I think, with Denver and the New York Jets going overseas. Not a whole lot of scoring, but definitely a way to, watch your scoring stay pretty low at the very beginning, because I don't think that the game's going to be very offense efficient, but it'll be something to watch. Look at Gabriel. He avoided the first sack. Sorry. It was actually a very good play there. He avoided the first sack. Unfortunately, stepped right into the second one as Cleveland gives the ball back. But, this game's been pretty interesting.
Second half of this game has been a display of the punters at this point. But yes. I do want to just say the one thing I'm excited about. I did say at the beginning of this show, 90 minutes later, we're almost there. Judkins should find himself over the 100-yard mark today on the ground. He's at 95 yards rushing. So Brant needs one more reception out of him. He's had 2 targets, just 1 reception. So I do. Well, his second target was on this drive, and it wasn't very much a target. I think Gabriel was already wrapped up and just trying to get the ball close to a receiver. We do have a quick question I'll answer here from Trevor. He says, Juwan Johnson or Darren Waller? I'm going Juwan Johnson, Brant. I'm
going with Johnson here. I think Waller's thing was a fluke this last week. I do think, he'll see some targets without Hill there, but I'm not trusting it. So I'll go with Johnson as well.
Go Johnson. He's been too good this year to not play him.
Well, I think that brings us almost beat me. I think that brings us to the end of our 90 minutes. Like you alluded to, hop on the Facebook page. And ask any late questions or any other questions you may have. Get ready for a good day of football. It looks like it's set up to be by Vegas standards. It looks like it's set up to be one of the higher scoring weeks of the year. As most teams are starting to get into the flow of their offense and everything else. And as always, stay hungry,
stay fat, my friends.